Hi there, I'm Michael, and I'm going to be showing you how the Klocwork static analysis tool can be used as a quality gate in a CI environment. In this case, I'm showing it you in GitLab. However, the processes that I'm showing can be applied to any CI environment, such as Azure DevOps or GitHub or even Jenkins. So firstly, we have my project here. It's a very simple test suite. The code itself doesn't matter. It's just here to illustrate the CI workflow. I've already created a GitLab YAML file. In this case, it defines the workflow. And what we're going to do first is we're going to check out the code. We're going to make our own development branch, and we're going to introduce a new issue into the code base and push that up into our repository. Now, the premise of my pipeline is that when I come to do a merge request, it's going to run the static analysis. We're going to check it for any potential new issues. And I've configured it so that if there are any potential new issues, we can block the merge request from being allowed to happen and therefore stop any new technical debt from being introduced into our master branch. So if I switch down to this command line, we can see I've got my command here preset. So I clone down my project, and then I'm going to edit some piece of code. Again, this doesn't particularly matter which. So I'm going to update this test suite file. I'm just going to introduce a new function. Let's introduce an array of size 10, and let's access the 10th array, which obviously doesn't exist. So that should cause an issue. And if I write that, let's switch to a development branch. So I'm going to call my branch dev. So I switch to the new branch dev. I'm going to add the change I've just made to the buffer overflow file to it. I'm going to commit. So updated some code. And then I'm going to push this to that new dev branch. Okay, so that's now pushed up to my GitLab repository. And if I refresh here, we should now see that I have a new branch dev with that change. If I change into that, I can now create a merge request. So I want to merge my change into the master branch. Let's say I've developed a new feature for my code. Obviously, I'm just going to leave all this at the default and create my merge request. And then what we'll see here is that it's automatically going to launch my pipeline. So I've set GitLab's pipelines to say whenever there's a merge request created, run a scan against that. Now you can also see that I've configured the rules on my repository so that it requires the pipeline to pass first before I'm allowed to merge the code. And here we can see the pipeline has finished, and you can see that it's blocking my merge. So you can see the pipeline has failed and the merge request is now blocked. So I'm not able to merge my code in because of the pipeline failure. Now the pipeline failure could be for a variety of reasons. It could be that the code didn't compile, for example. However, in this case, it's because I've introduced a new issue and I've configured it to say that I'm not allowed to add any new technical debt to the project. So as part of the integration with CI toolings, we've integrated with the API in GitLab here, and we've provided a comment here with a URL link to the issues that have been potentially raised. So if I click on that link, it takes us to the Perforce Validate portal, for our static analysis tools, and it takes us to the issue that I introduced and is blocking my merge request. So we can see here the issue that I introduced, and if I click into it, we see the source code at the time I scanned it on the CI environment. We can see that new function that I added in with that buffer overflow. Now, obviously, the typical sense, we would go in, we would fix that issue, and we would recommit the code, rerun the scan, and the job would pass and allow us through the quality gate. The other option we do have here as well is that from this web portal page, we can actually ignore or deviate issues. And you can see here we have the status analyze set to the issue, so we could decide what we're going to do with it. In this case, I'm not going to fix this issue. Let's say I'm allowed to do this for whatever reason. So I can change it to a different status. You can create various different roles and permissions with the statuses and assign them to various different meanings. In this case, I'm just going to apply the ignore. You can then also provide a comment, which would be your justification or reason why you're not fixing the issue here. So in this case, I'm going to ignore this issue, and then I'm going to rerun my pipeline. So if I go back to my merge request, I can then go into the pipeline and I can hit retry, which will rerun the pipeline now against the same merged code change, because obviously I haven't changed the code. And in this case, it should pass and then allow me to merge that code base. And what we can do is click into the run, and we can see a little bit of how that looks whilst it's going. So if I scroll up here, we can see obviously part of the pipeline is that we're compiling the code. But here's where we actually call our static analysis tool. So we collect the information of what files have changed from the SCM tooling, and we pipe that into a file. And so you can see here, even though I'm working in a clean environment, it might be a Docker container, or we just might clean up the environment every run to make sure that we don't have any artifacts that affect the result. I can still analyze just the changed files. So here I'm only analyzing the buffer overflow that was changed in comparison to the master branch I'm merging into. So I don't need to analyze the entire project to try and find the new issues. After it's analyzed that file, we then synchronize the potential new issues up to the validate portal, and then we run our quality gate. So in this case, it's passed. And the reason why it's passed is because I have a configuration setting on here to say that I only care about the open issues in terms of failing the quality gate. So we can see here, for example, the search parameter to say that we only care about the status analyze and fix issues. So going back to my merge request, you can see the merge request is now passed because I ignored that issue, and I'm now allowed to merge the code. So if I run that merge, it then merges in that code, and it will also then trigger another pipeline which is configured to run on every commit into the master branch. So that then recollects the baseline, obviously understands any of the modified code for then the next potential merge request, as well as commits this issue that I've now ignored to the database.